two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting interview on Inside Movies Galore, where we have director Christopher Seaver here with us. How are you doing, Mr. Seaver?
I'm doing. Oh, I'm doing great. I mean,
So, I also I also have my good friend Mo here. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me on for it.
And I guess we have Sean Ramon here with us.
Johnny
Hey, Sean.
Ramone, what's up?
Why don't we get started here and ask you, Chris, how did you get involved in the independent film industry and where did it all begin?
Okay. So when I was very young,
Okay.
7 years old, it was 1984. My family got a video camera for Christmas,
Okay.
and I basically stole the video camera and just started making backyard like Freddy and Jason movies with the neighbor kids and whatnot. Uh, previous to picking up that camera, I was a Star Wars kid and all that good shit, and enjoying uh, fantasy and science fiction and all that weird stuff. But I was also, because of my mom and my uncles who were they're very weird. They were weirdos. They're the Seavers in the family, and they pushed a lot of stuff on me when I was very young. So I was seeing Monty Python and the Zucker Brothers stuff very early on,
Okay.
and they would take me to movies. My aunt would take me to movies. I was seeing movies, since I was like 3 years old. Um, so I just loved film, and for some reason, after my mom had taken me to see Nightmare on Elm Street,
Okay.
um, I came out of that movie, and she, says that I told her I would like to make movies one day.
Okay.
And then the family got a video camera, and then I took it.
And where did you originally grow up?
It's a very small town in Western New York called Wellsville, New
Okay.
York. It's kind of in between Buffalo, New York, and Rochester, on
Okay.
either side, and yeah, I mean, the Wellsville is like a podunk, it's redneckian, it's so like cliche, like fishing and hunting and four wheeling, and you got to be a sports fan and blah blah blah, which I am not at all. So I was like a weirdo in Wellsville. I was like such a I just didn't fit in, and I was the movie kid. I really was the movie kid. And
Okay.
like the parents of all the friends who I had, they deemed me to be the bad influence because I was like into movies and making movies and horror movies and shit like that. But I, never done drugs, never drank, nothing. But I was the one that they wanted the kids to stay away from.
Okay. So when did you
Right,
start
Sean?
to
That's right.
um when did you start to actually start to create like some of your short films thereabouts?
So, it was really cool. I mean, growing up in the entirety of the '80s was a magical thing. The pop culture boom was happening, and I was soaking it all up in all its forms, be it TV, cartoons, toys, movies, whatever. I wanted it all, and I consumed it all. And we had this video store called uh, um, Video Connection, and this video store started to, in like the mid to late '80s, started to carry shot on video stuff, uh, which was blowing my mind. I was just like, where are all these people coming from? How can these movies be in the video store? And so I was renting anything and everything that I could.
Mhm.
Um, and I was like, you know what? I mean, I can do this. I'm doing this now, so it was really inspiring, and it really pushed me along. And then when I got into my teens in 1991, I started to sort of quote unquote take it seriously. Whereas instead of just throwing out ideas and running around and being an idiot in front of the camera and dressing up, I
Mhm.
started to write down characters and stories and really sort of write these like 5-page scripts and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I
Print
was
up those
14.
T-shirts.
Yeah, sure. So I was 14 at the time, and I called it Low Budget Pictures.
Okay.
And that's really when. Well, I do offer some of the like late '80s stuff on the vintage Sievage collection. So
Mhm.
some people can see like where it all started. But I would say starting LBP in '91 was really when I said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And, I'm 44 now, and I, I'm doing it. I'm still doing
You
it.
had quite the showing for it too, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I still would like to see your Friday Part 9 that you guys did back in the day. I'm sure it's better than what we got. I
Yeah.
just recently came to the realization that even when I was hyped on that movie, I would tell people like, "You got to see this. All of it sucks, but the end with the glove is awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why don't we ask you about some of those earlier projects here? Starting with Commando Kids, Friday the 13th, Part 9, Bloody Bobby, and Dark Magic. Why don't you tell us about those projects and how you got involved with them?
I just did them. I just,
Okay.
I said, I was lucky enough to gather, um, uh, about 12 weirdos in Wellsville, and sort of, and again, and none of these people, my friends, wanted to make movies. They didn't pursue it, but well, Chris is doing it. We'll help Chris do it, and so like all the weirdos, I guess, gravitated towards me, and that became the first core group of low budget pictures. And one of those dudes, his name was Brad Goff, and Brad became sort of my like right hand man. And Brad and I
Okay.
would throw ideas back and forth all the time. We'd write ideas down. He became sort of like the producer in a way because he was very structured and he was very anal and uh, but he tried to, even at that early stage, he tried to get shit done that I wanted done. Um,
Okay.
so those projects, I mean, that's just some of the movies that we made throughout those years. Um, they just we'd go out on weekends and we'd do these dumb little movies, and
Okay.
I started to send scripts and VHS raw material and some of the like early edits because we would edit the movies on deck to deck
Okay.
at the high school, and we would just go in there after hours or on weekends and just learn the VHS deck to deck. And they had this editing equipment called Videonics, which was for their like morning announcements or whatever.
Okay.
And we would put these movies together. And so I would go to the back of a Fangoria and look up like independent like companies and whatnot to send my stuff to see if they would be interested. And I did that for a variety of different companies. And one of them
Hmm.
was Cemetery Cinema out in Texas.
Okay.
And they wrote back, uh, saying they would love to take a look at my stuff. And, again, I was just a teen young teen and just making these shitty movies, and this guy was making his own movies, Todd Cook, out there in Texas, and he had a catalog.
Okay.
And he was selling movies through, and he was like, he saw potential and he wanted to check everything out.
Okay.
So he did, and then he said, well, we'd like to put some of this out on VHS through our catalog. So he was actually the first person that ever put like Chris Seaver stuff out there
Okay.
on VHS in the world. That was like, 93 at the time when that was happening.
And how many of your films ended up on VHS?
Shit. I mean, most of them were all on VHS. I mean, even the first Malva. I mean, we didn't switch to mini DV until like 2001, 2002, 2001. So everything up to that point was all VHS.
Nice.
I think you probably started getting stuff on disc like around the time you guys were getting like the bonus segments on Full Moon discs and stuff through Tempe, right?
The DVD stuff happened in 2001. Yeah, like because of a VHS version of Malva that we had, I sent to Debbie Rashawn, who was working on the Full Moon movie, and she started passing it around because she thought it was funny, and she was showing everybody. And that's when J.R. Bookwalter, and who was working at Full Moon at the time, and of course had his Tempe Entertainment, he called me up.
Witch House.
And said, hey,
I think all that stuff.
Does anyone have distribution for this Malva? And I was like, no. And he's like, do you want it? And I was like, are you crazy? I knew who he was, of course. I was a fan. So it was so the first stuff to hit disc was like 2001, 2002, and that was like the bonus features on 2 Full Moon movies. So.
Which ones are those? Because I'd like to grab those at some point. I collect a lot of Full Moon stuff. So.
It was Hell Asylum and Dead and Rotting.
Like the individual Dead and Rotting, right? Or that double feature with the hell's that movie? I don't know.
It was just Dead and Rotting with, I believe, Filthy McNasty, and Hell Asylum had Malva. And then because
sorry about that. Those should have it because that Dead and Rotting double feature has the individual discs in it. It's like that one and that Scars one or Stitches, that other one that JR has something to do with.
I don't know. I don't own any of them.
I think I have one then, so I just need to get that Hell Asylum, and I'll get it for your movie because Hell Asylum looks like both. Really does.
So out of the your earlier short films on your low budget pictures catalog, which of those would you consider like your ultimate favorite of the group if you had to choose?
Like early LBP.
I knew you was gonna answer like that.
Shit. I don't know. A lot of those early movies, I mean, they're not really good. I think I would base them mostly on how much fun I was having, or how much fun the group was having at the time. Geez, I don't know. I don't know. We always go in waves. I think of LBP in waves, and there was the first wave, which ended in '99, and then that started a new wave, which ended in 2001, and then the next wave, which lasted the longest, which was 2002 to when we started Warlock, which was 2011.
Okay.
So those. I don't know.
Alrighty, we'll move on.
Not too many in the
A better
early.
question might be:
early days.
a better question might be, which one do you think had the most promise that you would maybe, if you had like infinite time and resources, would have liked to remake at some point? Were that an option? You know.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, we did a parody of From Dusk Till Dawn in 1996
Was that
when the
Almost
original
Night Till
came
Almost
out,
Day?
From Almost Night to Almost Day, and at that point, that was like the biggest thing we had ever done.
Okay.
And it was it was super fun and
It sounds
very,
it, man. That's one I'd like to see.
very creative and silly and chintzy and cheap, but like we thought we were like really, you know, doing something special with it. And you know, it had a lot of blood, gags, and homemade squibs and all sorts of shit that we did in that.
Felt a little bigger than just a backyard movie or something, like you were
At
actually
the time,
making
yes.
I would
At
call
the
it your
time.
first
Yeah.
feature. Where did you end up filming that?
Just in the town. You
Okay.
know, what's cool is growing up in that small town and being the only like super movie weirdo guy, and everybody knowing everybody, I had access to everything. So, you know, it was very easy to have a lot of production value. So much so that I still go back there to this day because everyone just says, "Yeah, you can film here." You know, of course. You know, and Wellsville is still sort of stuck in that '80s time. Not a lot of modern architecture or anything has really like taken over.
Okay.
It's still a very '80s feel and a small town feel. So
Okay.
it lends itself great to a lot of my projects. And again, it's just easy to get all that production value because they're just so used to me doing it.
Okay.
I think
I
the
think
main times
Sean
you
can attest to
traveled
that.
was for like, I think the main times you traveled was for like Ski Wolf and Carnage for the Destroyer, wasn't it? Like where you actually went out of town a ways. Since you got
We've
the,
done
was
it.
it
We've done it a bit, um, actually, but early on, I would, yeah, like at the time. So we did Carnage in 2005, I
Mhm.
believe, and at the time, like going to Ohio to shoot a movie was a big deal. I mean, we had already been doing the conventions, you know. Actually been going to conventions since '93, but
Okay.
selling at conventions since '96. So the convention thing was like a huge deal for us. And really, at the time, the only way for us to sort of get our stuff
Get your
out there and talk to fans who would or future fans who would be into that shit. So Ohio was very. I mean, the reason we shot in Ohio is because of fans seeing us at those shows out there and would say, "Hey, I have this, and you can come and shoot here, and you know, we do effects, and we can do your effects, and blah blah blah." And so that's how that happened. But yeah, I mean, we've shot in New York City, we've shot in Toronto, we've shot in. I mean,
that's
Ski
right.
Wolf was very close to Wellsville, so it really
Okay.
wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, mostly it's better for everybody if we can sort of do it as locally as possible.
Yeah, a lot of them seem like split between the Rochester Wellsville thing, which just
We
know,
do,
if it works,
we
it
go.
works.
That's what we try to keep it as, and
You pulled a
all
lot
my
of great
friends.
locations out of those places, man, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Wet heat in
ultimately,
those abandoned places and shit.
you got into doing a couple of short films called Anal Paprika. Why don't
I
you
mean,
tell us a little bit about those projects and how you got how you created the ideas behind them? Actually,
Again, that was, it was 99. Just stupid shit that would pop in my head. And at the time, I didn't know there was an actual movie called Anal Paprika, and I didn't find out until I
Whoa.
was doing a convention.
I didn't even know that till this moment.
So I was doing a convention, and a friend of ours said, "Hey, there's this gross like snuff slash fake snuff slash like erotic horror sex film called Anal Paprika," and I'm like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" Like,
Yeah,
because to
that's
me
wild.
at the time I was just like, this is hilarious together, and
Yep.
I would come up with titles like that just if they made me laugh. I was like, well, that's the title, and it has nothing to do with the film, and that's definitely the Anal Paprika stuff. So yeah, it was just me writing this stupid shit about these friends who go out into the woods, and mentally challenged John Stamos fan lives in the woods, and he's killing people because I guess John Stamos enraged him. I don't know. It doesn't make a
Blowing
fucking lick of
loads.
sense.
did you use anyone that you had used previously in some of your previous work in Anal Paprika?
Yeah, my cousin Casey,
Okay.
who later, people know as Teenape, but my cousin Casey, he's 4 years younger than me, so he grew up with this weird cousin who was always making these movies and doing weird shit. And when he became of age, I started to bring him into this stuff. So Casey's in all three of the Anal Paprika movies. And the only
He's
reason
all we're
we
really
did
missing here is the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
what's that?
Oh, so I was just watching that video with you, Casey, and Shawnee, like right before we got in here, that VHS one. So if Casey was here, it'd be like surreal, like it just seamlessly transitioned from
Is on
screen to video.
Oh
Yeah. It's good.
But yeah, so
Anyway,
we
sorry, Chris, continue.
we did Anal Paprika, and we sold it at shows, and it sold out, and we were like, oh, it's huge. So it probably sold like 15 VHS or something like that.
So I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it on I think it's this guy right here, The Dirty Dozen. Get yourself a copy of that. You get a chance. I don't know if Shawnee's up on any of these movies. I can't recall off the top of my head. Maybe.
He's in Filthy McNasty 4 in that set.
Oh, that's right. You talk about in there how you used to hawk the VHS out of like a sack while you guys were walking around just perusing and stuff. Like in my head, when you're talking about it, I pictured like a paperboy sack where you have the front and the back like full of the tapes.
It was just
what's more accurate?
It was just a duffel
knapsack.
bag. Yeah, just a duffel bag.
Oh, cool.
Before we, because we were just like, oh, we have to pay for a table. Yeah, we're gonna walk around and just hug them out of the bag. Yeah, we didn't start actually paying for tables until like '99. So before that, it was just hawking them out of the backpack, the satchel.
So was Anal Paprika and that stuff like the beginning of you really doing that? Like going out
there
trying to get him
we
into
had
as many hands as you could?
Meter Man and From Almost Night to Almost Day and Bloody Bobby and Freddy versus Jason. Well, it was Jason versus Freddy. It was our we did it
Halloween
in
night or something.
Well, we did a Freddy versus we did a Jason versus Freddy in '94, and then October of that year we did the Friday the 13th Halloween night. So
dude,
those
if the next Halloween movie sucks, we need a Chris Seaver like Jason kills Michael movie to just close it all out. That's what should happen.
So yeah, it was so those earlier films we were hawking. Yeah.
Okay.
The last VHS we sold was probably in 2000, and that was the VHS versions of Mulva Zombie Ass Kicker.
That's what I was
Makes
gonna
sense.
say, because Malva came out around around the time of Anal Paprika 3, and that's when you put out Scrotal Vengeance.
2001. Yeah, 2001 was Scrotal Vengeance and Anal Paprika 3. Yeah.
So how was working on Scrotal Vengeance for you?
You know, again,
All kinds of scrotal, I imagine.
silly title, has nothing to do with the movie itself.
Which one did Razor McLeod come from? Is that Scrotal Vengeance?
That's
Or
Scrotal Vengeance. Yeah,
the hell team?
Scrotal
Okay.
Vengeance.
Love that dude.
I don't know, man. It was, you know. Oh wait, actually, well, the original Razor McBleed was Anal Paprika 2. And then my good friend Jesse Green plays him in Scrotal Vengeance, and that became what people saw. You know, because very few people have seen the original Anal Paprika films.
Okay. And recently, you
So-
just put them out on a Blu-ray, from what I understand.
Yeah.
How's that gone for you?
Better than I thought, and I think it's because like we're getting a lot of like new fans who are like trying to fill in a collection, or you know, I stopped doing the DVDs a couple years ago, and I think they didn't get a chance to get it, so they're grabbing them now. And it's been awesome. It's been really great. And our buddy Zach has been putting all these packages together, putting these Blu-ray masters together, and doing an awesome job. And he's like, you know, cleaning them up and restoring the DV or VHS footage. You know, and it's
They do
been
look
pretty wild.
great, dude. And after watching them each like a couple of times, or at least on the this one, I haven't got my other ones from you yet, but like the Dirty
Actually,
Dozen,
that box
they did a
got
really
sent out
good
yesterday.
job.
Yeah,
What's that?
JR did it for that box set. I mean, Jesus, we were, you know, I mean, he spent 3 months on restoring those movies.
Dude, I'm flabbergasted at how accurate the subtitles are, because your dialogue is not an easy thing to subtitle, and they're
No.
surprisingly accurate. There's parts where it screws up a little bit, but I watched them all multiple times already, and it's, man, they got it pretty spot on. There's times the jokes even still land when I'm like doing dishes and just glancing over and I catch the subtitles because I remember the scene, you know. So one thing I did want to ask you, if it's cool, before we proceed here, is like, you know, one of the first things I noticed about your movies watching them is the unapologetic showcasing of ska music and just oddball rock joints and stuff like that. And from watching you and tuning into interviews and all the stuff on these sets, I gather that over the years it's led to some cool interactions of you like having bands in your movies or having them submit music for your movies. Is there like a moment among that? I mean, I'm sure it's hard to choose, but is there a moment among all that that stands out as a favorite or was particularly surreal for you where you're like, damn, you know, I just really love this band and now I'm dealing with this band because of my movies, you know?
So, well, yes and no. So like, again, from an early age, my family pushed a lot of like awesome music on me. Not only growing up in that time where the music was so insane. I mean, 80s music is fucking dope. But my uncles and my mom were also listening to like They Might Be Giants and Oingo Boingo and you know, the Cars and the Police, which were out there, but I mean they were very, very weird alternative people. And so I listened to a lot of that stuff where like, you know, most people would be listening to the radio hits. And I did listen to that stuff too, but you know, not everyone is gonna know They Might Be Giants, certainly. But and then in the mix of all that, there was ska. So my uncle John and my aunt Suzanne were like very big into the Specials and Madness and the Selector and all those 70s ska bands from the UK and whatnot. And certainly Oingo Boingo did a lot of ska in their albums.
Yeah, which you
And
guys
so
didn't
that
realize.
just
So
kind of
I'm new to it, so those Saturday
oh, it
nights
just
were helping me out for a bit there.
oh yeah. I mean, Oingo Boingo. It's because Danny Elfman was also very much inspired by those '70s bands, and he really you know, if you listen to those albums, there's a few ska songs on each album, and it's pretty awesome.
Pretty
But
much, yeah.
so that was a part of me as well, but I didn't even know
Okay.
it was called ska, until 92, 93 or whatever, for the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. But um, when I was making movies, because I was constantly listening to that stuff, I was just always like, well, these are the songs that are going to go in my movies, man. This is what I like, and it's going to go in the movies. And the more that we would go see bands, the more I would bring copies of my stuff to give to the bands and say, hey, if you guys are out on the road and you want to see this crazy weird shit, here's some movies.
Pop that
And then a
YouTube
band,
player. That's
and then a band that really sort of took hold for me was in '96, called the Planet Smashers, and
yes.
luckily, that band also very much enjoyed my films because I would give them out and everything. And we had a relationship. And in '95, I also started a ska band. So for 3 years, we had a ska band in '95 till about '98.
Oh man, the name's
And I
right
was
on the tip of my
playing
head too. It's
the
like,
Swanky Modes. And I was playing a
yeah,
lot
there you go.
with bands. And I would always bring the movies to give out to these bands. So it was very easy for me to just get permission. Fuck the labels and the whatnots and this and that. I was going straight to the source, and the bands would just be like, "Hell yeah, you can put anything in your movies, whatever." And that just
Well, dude,
stuck.
it
So
works. It really, I mean, not that I need to tell you that, but it is like one of the things that endeared me immediately to your movies. And
it
some
it
other
definitely
asshole would have put like some local death metal band over it or something over the gory
yeah,
bits to make it seem like, but your movies just have fun music throughout them, I feel like, for the most
it
part.
just
And
adds to the
it's
weirdness
just
of a
fun.
Chris Seaver movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
When you watch the
part of
opening credits of a Chris Seaver movie, if you don't understand what you're getting into most of the time based on the song that's playing over it, then you're just fucking taking the piss. Like, you're not paying attention,
yeah.
Because it sets it up right from the beginning most of the time, dude. You're like, exactly that you're getting into a wacky good time, and I love it. So that was
I
it,
mean,
I just wanted
from the
to
title.
talk. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about your because this is around the time that you started to do your Filthy McNasty films. So
2001.
correct. So how did you get involved with those projects, and tell us a little bit about them? Because I figured this would be a good segue to involve your good friend Shawnee here. So
Um, Again, it's just whatever pops into my head that makes me laugh is what I write down, and uh, and something that Lloyd Kaufman told me. So again, so around '99, we also got involved with Trauma, doing things for them, and then them doing things for us. They actually are the ones who produced Malva. But so I had this relationship for 10 years with Lloyd and the Trauma team and Doug Sackman and everybody there. And one of the things that Lloyd said early on was, "Hey, now that you've established yourself a little bit with this tone, now push it a little more because people are going to remember that, now." And even 10 years ago, I abandoned all of that because it was just like whatever. shock value is just shock value, and it's not as fun anymore. But at the time, I was like, whatever it takes to get people to start talking about your stuff. So so I figured, okay, well let's go and make like the grossest thing we can at that time.
Just some
Okay.
fucked up
Uh,
shit.
so that's filthy.
Uh,
That was Filthy McNasty.
Pretty
And,
much. I think you guys did a great job of transitioning from the shock value, pure filth kind of stuff into just being back into being sort of Chris Seaver stuff. It doesn't. You have enough of that in your DNA. It doesn't feel like it's just gone forever. It's in there.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's
just,
not in
it's
there on quite the
it's
level of those movies.
yeah, yeah. And so with the Filthy McNasty movies, it was always like well, how can we one up the last one? So, and it became successful enough to where Tempe kept wanting more Filthy McNasty movies.
More.
And so we would just one up,
Can't blame them.
and then the last. So from like 2001 to 2009, that was like the 4 Filthy McNasty movies. And by the time we got to 4, which was 2009, it was more like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, then it's going to be where I am now, my style now. But I'll still throw in the stuff that people seem to enjoy from those movies.
And how many new people did you end up working with on the Filthy McNasty films?
So the new group, so the third wave of LBP started in 2002. So by that point, who you see in the movies are who you see in the movies. Like,
Yeah.
I've had a consistent group of about 15 people since 2002.
Okay.
What was it?
So they were all
Phantom
in
of the
there.
Grindhouse dude plays the Phantom,
Jason?
isn't he? In one of the Filthy McNasties, it's like
He's
the main
in-
character. Yeah, Jason.
He's in
3,
one
isn't he?
is the main character. He's in oh no, I mean he's in 3 as a main character. He's in 4 as a main character. Jason is, but 2009
One of the best.
is when I met this gentleman right here.
And how did you two meet?
Also one of the best. I've been waiting to
And
see what
in
you're going to
fact-
pull out of that jacket all night, bro.
What,
you got in there?
Sean, why don't you tell us how you two met?
All right. Well, when we met in 2009 at a horror convention. Where else? It was a Monster Mania convention in New Jersey. I think it was the March one. And then we also saw each other again in August.
Yeah.
So same place, only a few months apart. So both of our histories of retelling this story sort of have, blended these two experiences together in different ways. But him and I were at both of these shows in the same building a few months apart, basically doing the same thing and doing the meeting and the greeting process with everyone else that was there and also with each other. So, the individual particulars start to develop a little more finely with our memories on the third meeting, and that was in Hunt Valley,
Yes.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Also Monster Mania. So that's when we really start to pull things together in our minds when we retell this story. It gets a little more concrete. I feel like at this point we were sort of like immediately sort of doing The Shining anyway between each other, where we just knew that we were on the same plane. I don't think there was any hesitation at all. Maybe there's like an initial whatever, but we were immediately on the same plane. And by the time we made it to Maryland, he knew. He tells me he knew that we had to do something. In fact, he said to me, we gotta get you in a movie. We have to do this because I don't know why. I just for fun dressed up like Ramon, just basically Joey Ramone. But I had one of the effects people at the show do me up like a zombie. And so I sat in a chair for 45 minutes and had someone do pretty cool, like, it's basic, but it was fun. She took her time with it. She said, I'm gonna make you look really cool, and she did. And so I put that on with the Ramones costume, the wig, and the hat. Basically, what you see
That's
in the
awesome, dude.
movies. That character, his first appearance was at Monster Mania, and I hung out with Chris like that for most of the night, Saturday night probably, for the costume
I can
contest.
imagine wanting to put you in a movie after that, dude. Just hearing
Yeah,
your
and
voice
he
makes
said,
me
"We,
want
we
to
gotta, you
put you
gotta
in
come
things.
up. You gotta come up, and we gotta get." You said we
Um,
gotta get this guy
Yeah.
in a movie, meaning the character, and then it just sort of became. I mean, why not Shawnee Ramone? My
Yeah.
name's Sean, so
Yes,
that's
Exactly.
pretty much how it works.
I think nowadays we would say who else but Shawnee Ramone. You know what I mean?
That's right.
it's
If
you're a
not
fan
me,
favorite
then
for
who?
sure, dude.
So that's where.
So were
that's
you
where I
already
came
doing
in.
the good work back then and preserving those VHS tapes, or is that something
Oh,
you
wow,
started
so
more recently?
you know a little bit about who I am too. Yes, I
For sure,
was,
bud.
in fact. So yeah,
That's how we met.
yeah, it is how we met. At those first two shows, I was doing that, and right around the corner, he was selling. He was selling well, a bunch of his titles, but one in particular, Ski Wolf. I bought.
Yes,
I bought Ski Wolf.
one of the best.
No, you had already seen Ski Wolf.
Had I already seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Because when I first walked up to your table, I was like, oh my! I was like, you were putting out the titles.
Yeah, I was
You were
putting
putting out your
about one.
titles,
I was one table.
and I was like, oh, I really want to see some of this shit that you got going on here. This is great. And you're like, you have a tape? I go, yeah, I'm selling my movies. And you go, anything I might have seen? I go, I don't know. The newest thing that we just put out on DVD is Ski Wolf. And you go, I saw it. And I'm like, and I go, bullshit, you haven't seen it. And you turn to your brother's wife.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you go, didn't we just watch Ski Wolf? And she's like, yes.
We did. Like, we had just watched it,
Yeah.
and we loved it. We were like going
It's
crazy
great.
over it. It was fantastic.
I still say, I brought this up on one of your live streams like months back, maybe like a year ago now. But I still say if there was like somebody in the homebrew NES community that could turn like a Chris Seaver movie into an NES game, Ski Wolf is the game, you know. And in my head, I workshop ideas all the time for how that could be just amazingly fun, you know. So hit me up, NES community. But yeah, man.
So
it's worth noting that Shawnee's booth has grown from one table into a literal video store. It sounds like that you can visit at the
I
convention.
call it,
And
It's awesome.
I call it a
Even
mom
got a
and
pro
pop up
wrestling
video
section.
store.
It
So
sounds
let me
amazing,
ask-
man. I really hope to see it one day.
Hey, oh,
So-
please.
So let me ask you, Shawnee, about your return to Bloodfart Lake role.
Yeah. Was that? I think this is right. Was that the chicken?
Yes.
Okay, so I remember bits and pieces. I remember one scene in particular where Chris had me chased down. I had to catch my own dinner, basically. I believe the gag was to pull a chicken out of the pocket oven or something, but I had to
You
chase
did,
an
I think.
actual
Whoa,
real
live
live chicken. Yeah, I had to,
It's great.
and that was really, that thing looked pretty good. It came out of the props department, animatronic chicken. So I
Quite
remember
lifelike,
chasing
better
this
than that
chicken
Hampton
around.
shit.
Yeah, the creature shop. I chased that live chicken around. I remember that. I remember bringing in the real Ben Scrivens, right? And then he was like playing. Was he playing himself or was he?
No, he was playing a character.
Andrew was Ben. Yeah. And I just remember watching Ben, our good buddy Ben of Fright Rags, like choking up blood and saying ridiculous things that it was fun.
He's great.
Love him. I don't remember a lot of the individual scenes. They blend in with a lot of the stuff that we've done. Sometimes the movies blend together for me. because it's a lot of the same people, it's a lot of the same locations, and it's it's a lot of the same type of stuff. So my take home, my biggest memory of that one was the chicken. That was fun. I would actually haven't seen that
that's
movie in
good
a really
stuff,
long
man.
time.
Yeah.
What's the
I
one where he
would
pulls the passion flaky out of the pocket? Because that's the first time I saw what one
Oh,
looked
passion
like.
flake. You know why that happened? It was supposed to be. Was it supposed to be? It was definitely supposed to be something else. But you had passion flakies, and that actually happens a lot.
Yeah.
I
The
forget
way
if we
Chris
actually.
has talked about it in the past, I can believe it. I just imagine you guys have passion flakies in your pockets all the time.
They're always around, or they were. No, I forget if we actually did this gag, and I forget if we're movie. I think it might have been around this time, and I don't know if we ever actually did it. But in the script, I think it was. I forget what it was in the script, but it became a Thomas's English muffin, or was that in the script and it became? Do you remember? It's a Thomas's English muffin, and that was either improvised or because we were eating them.
I do remember that.
Or
Because we had it.
I mean,
Because
I
it was
like
there
that.
and we didn't have. Yeah, sometimes I would write dumb shit like, "Oh, he pulls out a 5-course meal,"
Right,
something
it's
like that. Like,
oh,
not-
that does remind me of a story.
Dude, that would have
in a
been so
story.
fucking hilarious.
Flip
Whoa,
back
a 5-course meal.
Well, that was in the script at one point. In Filthy 4, just to jump back for a sec, I remember it was going to be the first time I had to pull something out of the pocket of it. And I remember thinking it was going to be messy, like really messy. And I was,
you had that
I
beautiful
had,
leather jacket.
yeah, I had my real, it was my leather jacket. I'm like, and I remember Meredith saying to me on the, backstage, basically saying, "Oh, don't worry, he'll rig it so that like it's completely like nothing will touch you. It's gonna be there'll be post production. There's a whole like effects team
Oh,
situation
boy.
that's gonna make this thing look exact." And I just remember she'll say, "Oh, Chris will rig it so that it all." And then I'm thinking when I'm actually doing the scene, whatever it was, I had my hand in my pocket holding this gooey whatever it was the whole
It was
time.
pizza.
It was okay. It was pizza, and I remember thinking, well, nobody, if I missed the rigging meeting, maybe I overslept and I missed the meeting where we were talking about how we were going to rig this thing, because rigging it basically meant holding it in my pocket and pulling it out and trying not to ruin myself, Bob, and my clothes. It's just like,
See, as soon as you're
I
describing it,
just
that
met
sounds
Meredith
like
at the time.
something
She lied to
that
me.
it sounds
Yeah.
like Meredith would say to make you feel comfortable, but that Chris would
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
do.
and actually, I mean, I met Meredith on Filthy 4, and the friend that
She seems like a
that
super
was-
nice lady.
She's very mean. But,
Bringing it back to you, Chris, for a little bit. Asking you about a couple of titles here called Ghoulish Chronicles from Bonejack High and the Karaoke Kid. Why
Okay.
don't you tell us a little bit about those projects?
Okay. Bonejack High, we shot in 2005, and that was because two of my friends, Sean Green and AJ Stabone, would tell me these ridiculous stories about
Choach.
their teenage lives and some of the weird shit that either happened to them or that they witnessed and things like that. And I just said, I'm gonna write a movie based on you guys and these ridiculous stories that you're telling me, and that became uh, Bonejack High. There was a under Sean's stairwell. There was something carved into the wood, and it said, and it was
Oh,
Killer
it says over
Kellerman
that,
was
like,
here.
yeah, the like cabinet creeper, crawl space dude, right? I
Killer
remember you guys
Kellerman.
talking about this on something. Yeah,
And
sorry,
it was
I'm
just so
excited.
creepy. I was just like, what the fuck is this all about? And they didn't know, Sean's family. They were just like, ugh. So Killer Kellerman became like the main villain of the movie, and I made him like a child molesting, killer, and that's Bonejack High, and so it's these
Okay.
kids trying to, kill the spirit of Killer Kellerman.
Okay.
Is it kind of the origin of like your Monster Squad stuff? Because don't those kids appear in other movies that aren't the? You'll forgive me, Chris. I don't have all your movies yet, and some of them are basically impossible to fucking locate.
Yeah,
So
well,
Bonejack
go
High
to
is
the
one of
source.
those things. Hey, buddy,
Yeah,
I'll take.
I
those
don't know.
context.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna put that out on Blu-ray. Unfortunately, there's a situation now where some of the people that were in the group are no longer with the group, and they would rather not have some movies out anymore, just because of where they are in their lives and things like that. And I totally understand. And that's just something that probably won't change. So some of those are just going to be lost through time. You know. Um,
It's unfortunate because it sets up some good stuff that does. Like I said, I think a couple of those kids from the Bonejack movies aren't they in like stuff in the box set even, or maybe
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
that's just on TV. I don't know.
Yeah, they
I
are.
was
They
binging
are.
it hard.
I mean, the origins of the PIA are even before Bonejack High, but PIA was like an established in this world of Bonejack Heights and all
Yes,
these
it's a
wacky
thing.
these characters. The PIA is the Paranormal Investigation Agency, and various characters are a part of this agency, and that continued on until we even made the show,
Yeah.
the PIA, in 2013. But yeah, so that's sort of carried on throughout, and
Did it really take Camp 4 years to put that out? Because it's listed as 2017, but who knows with the
no,
internet and
I
stuff.
know, yeah, it didn't take them. They didn't want to put it out.
Hmm.
They
I
were
feel like I remember you mentioning that.
they were very offended by the film.
Yeah, they weren't stoked on you, but it's one of the better ones, I think.
And they didn't like me at all. So they kind of like sat on that and Phantom of the Grindhouse for a while.
Hmm.
Egregious. I mean, Phantom of the
I know.
Grindhouse is another great one.
Another film that
I'm in
Sean's
both of
in.
those.
Yeah. Oh, you're in PIA
I
as
think
well.
I think PIA is one of the best.
It really is, dude. It nails the workplace comedy sort of office thing better than The Office, even, I think, because it's
And
just such a good
it's a
time, man. I watched
it's a
that
very
like 4 times recently.
it's a very interesting world building that you have built. I mean, you've got the Bonejack High within the Bonejack Heights. You've got the Teenape comedy films, and you even have Deathbone, Billy,
Fuck yeah.
in a
Old Billy
couple of
Gabarino.
movies. So I kind of enjoy Deathbone as a character. To be honest,
I more than enjoy Deathbone. I love
Me
it.
too.
Especially Josh yelling at that lady at the beginning. He's like, yeah, you getting shit. That's like one of my favorite things that I've seen over the
where
last
did
year.
the history of Deathbone begin?
Deathbone. So Billy, the Billy Garbarina and me thing started in 2002. I had co-written a movie with Scott Phillips, and he's a Albuquerque, New Mexico filmmaker and writer. But he also wrote a movie. And how I met Scott was because of a movie that he wrote that I absolutely love. In the late '90s, he wrote a movie called Drive with Mark Dacascos and Kadeem Hardison and Brittany Murphy. And it's a kung fu action. I mean, it's fucking dope. It's so good. And
Is that the one that's kind of like a what's it, Dead by Daylight, but like a later? I'm thinking of something else. I think
no,
like
it's.
some Mean
I mean,
Street
it's
Skid Row shit, and it's
it
like
is
a
so
kung fu
good.
movie. But
No, it's just awesome. It's
yeah,
awesome. And
Drive.
Yeah, so
Definitely looking into that.
I sort of I would seek out this dude, this Scott Phillips, and the things that he was doing, and he turns out he was doing a lot of stuff with Steve Wang, and Steve Wang directed Drive, but Steve Wang is also a world class special effects artist.
Okay.
He did the suit in Batman Returns. He did the Gillman in Monster Squad. He did Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies. But he's also a director.
He did
And,
that wiener that got you guys in all those editorials at the time.
What's that?
Super realistic one.
What
Oh,
you
that
talking
was
about,
a
Willis?
bad joke. Sorry. Continue.
I don't know.
You remember that
So
wiener that
anyway-
you guys got put on like Playgirl magazine because of? I think it was in the.
Oh,
what's
Carnage
it?
for the
Wet Heat.
Destroyer got us in a bunch
Or
of
Carnage for the Destroyer.
of
Yeah.
like porn mags. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Terrible joke, but that was the joke that he did also that wiener.
Oh.
He's a good special effects artist, though.
No. So we got in touch with Scott.
Connie likes it.
Scott and I sort of sparked up a relationship, and he started liking the stuff that I was doing, and so he asked me to co-write this thing called Scream Science Bastard Scream, which was a sequel to his
Yes.
low-budget shot-on-video movie Science Bastard.
Okay.
And he was good friend. He's good friends with Billy, and
Okay.
Billy is in Scream Science Bastard Scream, and I wrote all of the stuff for Billy. And Scott, when they shot the movie, Scott sent me the film, and I saw Billy, and I saw him doing my dialogue, and I was like, this guy is
Yes.
hilarious. Like, I need to get this guy in my films.
Vaginas are gross. They don't look like Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, that line he couldn't.
It's glorious, those outtakes.
He did like 20 outtakes of that because he just and he asked me at one point, can we just take it out? And I was like, absolutely not.
Fuck no.
I don't do a lot of that in my scripts. If there's something like that I was laughing writing, it ain't going anywhere.
Unless you get frustrated with it and Meredith has to tell you no. I've learned that from your crap.
But I even fight with her too on that shit. So Billy, it was interesting because Billy, through all those years, we just talked off and on, and then in 2007, we flew him out from Albuquerque to do Wet Heat. And then he just
classic.
Since 2007 he's just been with us, been part of the group. So in 2008 we were shooting Ski Wolf, and after Ski Wolf, me, Billy, and Trent Haga went to see Rambo 4. And during as the movie is playing, we're loving it, but we're also like, doing sort of a MST3K thing with the film. And Billy started doing this really bad Stallone impression and
Such
saying
a good one
dumb
too,
shit.
dude.
So after the movie, me, him, and Trent were just laughing about what if we did this movie, where we poke fun at this, and at the time it was going to be a Death Wish 3 Rambo 4 spoof. It was like going to mix the two of them, and then Billy, just said Death Bone, and I was like, well, that's what it is. It's Death Bone. You're Death Bone, and but I got into this really big kick of. I already loved fantasy movies, but for some reason I spent like a month just watching nonstop barbarian sword and sandal, epic fantasy.
It happens
shit
every
movies.
few years, You get in the mood for some brain bashing.
And I started to think, you know what, maybe I want to do this Rambo as a barbarian, as a fucking fantasy movie. And sort of, I thought at the time, yeah, maybe I'll be able to redeem the shit show that was Quest for the Egg Salad, and we'll make this new weird comedy fantasy movie. And
it's basically Rambo meets Deathstalker, Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah.
that's kind of the vibe of
Stalker,
it that I always.
Beastmaster. Yeah, it's and then that's how. And then we shot Deathbone that summer.
Okay.
Serious lack of you throwing stuffed ferrets, though. But I do want to ask you a little bit about Quest for the Egg Salad. Now, I've watched extensively your stuff around that. I'm not gonna push you on any of that stuff because I know that it's like extenuating circumstances and different things that made it not as fun. Were you given the chance to visit that high fantasy, not the barbarian basher slasher stuff that we got kind of with Deathbone, but like, were you given the chance nowadays with like a decent budget and the time and the option to just only work with people that you like? Do you think that something like Egg Salad would be something that you would like to take another run at? Because I know I've heard you say several times your favorite movie is Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know if that's still current. I've heard you say it.
Favorite film, I think
they do tend to fluctuate.
That trilogy is, it's up there.
It's amazing. It really is.
As a whole, I think
it's giving me a nerd simi just thinking about it. But seeing you do a proper, like, unencumbered, you don't have any of that shit that made Egg Salad bad for you guys, and you have all your friends that you would like prefer to make movies with, and a good budget that you can spend on as much special effects as you want. Do you think you would revisit that sort of subject material?
Maybe. I do love it, but I tell you what, I have always wanted to do a like a Chris Seaver Hammer movie.
Yes.
Old English style. Horse and
those
cart
bloods and just everything about
those
it.
Elaborate costumes and the moody gothic castles and all that shit. And you down
to play a stone vampire for us, Shawnee?
What would
something that you can do?
Chris Seaver Frankenstein, like something like that. But and in the Hammer style, I would absolutely love to do that. Like really bad, like English accents and all of us really decked out, and holy shit, I would love that. I would love to do.
I'll take it. It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's fucking close,
Coming back over to you, Sean. What was the second movie that you were part of in Chris Seaver's filmography?
Sorry. The second one after Filthy 4.
Shit, man, I don't remember.
If it wasn't Blood Sport 2, it had.
How about the Evil Dead Inbred Rednecks?
I knew you were going to bring that up because that was right around the same time too. I remember that was one of our location shoots. The description. So we have this tradition where Chris, he'll gather us all in his house and host us the night before we're going to start, basically. And we do a read-through. And sometimes the read-through is a lot of fun. It's really when...
Still waiting on the Ski Wolf read-through that you promised a while back,
yeah, I still have
Chris.
That. Yeah.
I remember.
It's like the first time that you get to see all the characters and hear all the characters, like basically saying everything in real time back at you. And we do a lot of laughing. We work through some issues that may have popped up that you don't realize until everybody's there. And we basically get ready. And in a lot of ways, it's the only time that everything is the way Chris wrote it. Because he reads all of the elaborate, and I don't know who has seen the Quentin Tarantino-esque elaboration of the background stories and the descriptions of the scenes and the way.
I've seen that table read you guys got out there on Warlock. I forget what it's for, but Chris is definitely, his commentary is like one of the best.
Yeah, I mean,
the scene everybody like act out the characters,
are amazing. And you don't, he writes for a budget that we don't ever really get to shoot with sometimes. There's a dream. I think the writing, there's a little bit of a dream. Like, it's not really going to look like the description. So anyway, the point of this story is this setting was like, in our minds, it's like, oh, it's going to be like the cabin in the Evil Dead. And it's going to be spooky. And it's this location shoot. It's going to be great. We get there and it's basically, it's a cabin. There's woods, but it's almost like, it's like a state park kind of thing. And there's a little barbecue grill, and the place is like gutted. There's no furniture in it, right? There's nothing. It's just like
the back end of some park, like Teenape Goes to Camp or something.
Yeah.
We did not want to do that movie.
We did it. Yeah, it was
Evil Dead. We did not want to do that.
We got through it, and
it feels like one you didn't.
We had. There were moments that were fun, and especially Chris jumps in at the end.
Of course, always.
He had fun at the very end. And there was another scene, another time when at the end of the movie there was Kurt in that one. Yeah. Okay, so Kurt in Divine, him and I were in the woods, and I forget what the gag actually was, but it was another one of those moments where, don't worry, we'll rig it. And you won't actually have to get pushed over onto this rock in the woods. It's not really going to be that way. Or even if it wasn't written that way, I forget what happened, but I wound up on the ground in the woods. And Kurt was like, after the take, he's like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It was cool. Did we get the take? Because it was like, it probably looked good." But I remember that. And then, spoiler alert, the urination scene that Chris pops in is something I quote to this day with the Michael Jackson, and he's like, "Pissing on you." It was so good. And so there's good moments and good stories in all the shoots, but I do remember that one was rough at a motivation level. We had setbacks.
Yeah, we just didn't want to do it. And we poke fun of the movie in the movie. We kind of rip on Ron Bonk and the company that we were making the movie for, because sometimes he gets on a subject that he just wants to beat into the ground.
I feel like I've heard you mention it. Like, I'm not doing clown this or shark that. Like, it's just
he was on this,
and it's just not you.
Now, there were a couple of stories.
Sort of safe to say, Close Encounters of the Redneck Kind or whatever, the inbred redneck kind was another example of that. I mean, it's got its funny moments, but I know you don't like writing redneck characters, and
not at all.
I think that's a big part of why Leo evolves, right? Like, he's less of an angry redneck and more of a lovable, bulleted lug.
He never really was. The Leo thing was, well, if I'm going to do these redneck movies, then it's going to be my redneck, and that's Leo.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do them the way that I think that they wanted me to do them. Where it would be like a backwoods raping redneck type thing. No, you're going to get ridiculous walrus mustached Leo DeChamp.
Now, was there one or
my
two
way, I'll
movies
stab you with my balls? You hear me? That's the favorite.
Was there one or two movies that Ron Bonk had a story for, and you just went with it?
I mean, that was one of them.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The Evil Dead inbred rednecks. That's all. I mean, that's his name.
That's what I thought. It was more his idea.
Close Encounters of the Red. Whatever. That's all him. He just, sometimes what it was was.
When did you get involved with Sub Rosa Cinema?
Ron actually in '94. Or 95, I had sent him a package of stuff.
Okay.
And I still have that letter that he sent back. And it was just like, hey, would you be interested in maybe checking out my stuff and possibly putting this stuff out? And it's funny that, like, from then until, all the way, and then 2007 was like 2008 was the first time we actually, like, truly collaborated. That was, I can't quite remember why that transpired, and why the relationship started. I wish I could, but I can't.
Okay.
We did. I mean, I think we did 10
I'd
movies.
imagine it sprung up through your other stuff. I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like there's some overlap between you and
maybe
those
they
dudes and like
talked.
places you distributed stuff. Or
Yeah, I don't know if JR or Ron talked or the Trauma guys talked. I don't know. But it just came back around, and we made a bunch of movies for Ron too. But what
Okay.
it would be is he would say, well, I'd like you to do this, and I'd say, well, okay, if I'm going to do that, then can I do this? And so
Okay.
that's how I was able to make those deals.
Okay.
I would do some for him as long as I got to do the ones that I wanted to do.
so I imagine I Spit Chew on Your Grave is probably another product of
That was his.
era.
I Spit You on Your Grave was his, but I had a lot of fun writing that, and we had a lot of fun shooting that.
It does sound like it would be a weirdly good time.
It was so stupid, and
Mhm.
we could go as cheap and silly and grindhousey as we wanted, and we did. And it's just
So I did
it's
have
just-
another random question here for you, if that's okay. It's not to do with any specific movies or anything. It's just to do with, criticisms or something.
Okay.
Your films are chock full of inside jokes and tasty references that viewers, don't necessarily understand the first time they watch one of your movies, but it kind of seeps into you.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that personally over the last 2 years. It definitely like seeps into you and almost becomes part of your daily lingo, and
You're welcome.
is that something thank you. Is that something that you like, purposely set out to do? Because you also have all these recurring characters, and really outside of Full Moon, you're like one of the earliest people I can think of that has like, a proper interconnecting universe of characters. Trauma sort of did it, but like you definitely have interconnecting mythos and characters and locations because of the way you shot the movies. So was this all something that you did consciously to build like this, roster of recurring characters and in movie lingo around those characters? Or is it just something that happened naturally as you guys kept putting stuff in the movies that made you laugh personally? Because I fully understand that.
I think it was
I've heard
more.
you talk about it,
I think it was more just me giggling.
Yeah.
If we
Just
would
a bunch
all
of Chris jokes that became a shared universe.
Yeah, and definitely if I would write a character and the performance was like killing me, I just much to the chagrin of some viewers and even some of the people that perform them,
Yeah.
I just kept writing them because they cracked me up personally.
Skippy.
Like Skippy. So yeah, I think that just became the evolution of like the world building and everything, because I just kept like writing the characters that I loved writing because of the performances. And then the gags and stuff. I've been criticized, and I totally understand in reviews and things in the past where it's some of it is a little too inside, and I totally get that. But that's just sometimes that's just the way it is because what I think it's personally funny, and there's a lot of times
let me
where
say this, dude. Like your YouTube channel helps a ton with that because people get, they have all these movies and then they can go over there and sit there for hours listening to you and Casey or people like Sean talk about different things, and they get little tidbits of your inside like humor. I imagine it was rougher back in the day for people. But if you're becoming a fan now, like Warlock, or excuse me, It Crept from the 80s is such a good resource of Chris that like if you can get down with a lot of that, then you're gonna pick the stuff up faster, if that makes sense. Because you talk about it all the time, like in different things.
Yeah, and it again, it's it might not necessarily be appropriate to put in the films, but little inside jokes and
Fuck
things
it.
like that, they amuse us, so we do it. And when we get together,
Well, it amuses us later when we get to look back in, so it's definitely transferring. But sorry, go ahead. When you get together, what?
when we get together, it's sort of nonstop that stuff. We are constantly making everybody laugh, all of us. Everybody is trying to make everybody laugh, and we're all just sort of coming up and saying, just in general, saying the dumbest shit that makes
Just
us
to make
all
each other
laugh.
laugh. Yeah.
And
Uh,
sometimes I will immediately write those things down. Ooh, that's something that's funny, or that'll fit here. Not necessarily a story per se, but something that's a gag that I will put in a movie.
Okay.
So, it's just, I guess, organic. It happens organically.
that's
Um,
kind of what I
and then
thought. I
the
mean,
good
it's
thing is, if you do become a fan, then you start to sort of pick up on that, and you, I guess, in a
yes,
way,
it works itself into the DNA of watching the movies. You know what I mean?
like the John Stamos
I've only
thing.
been doing this. Yeah, it's just because you guys thought he
Mhm.
sucked, right? And like he was everywhere at the time, especially in like '93. So you couldn't avoid. Wasn't he doing like Full House and those goddamn collect call commercials and shit like
I mean,
that?
it wasn't really.
Like
Yeah, we didn't really hate him per se. It was just,
it's just funny to say you hate him.
well, it's funny to say John Stamos in general. Stamos,
It really
just
is.
in general, is funny to me. The character of Uncle Jesse, the way that he looked, the portrayal, the hair, all that
The
stuff.
perfect hair. Yeah.
It just
Recently
became
wrote a
kind of.
story where Tommy from The Room unhinges his jaw and swallows John Stamos whole, and a lot of that was inspired by you guys reminding me how fucking funny just John Stamos is in general. The idea of him.
Yeah, he's a gem.
So
He really
how
is.
did the idea of Teenape evolve?
Ooh. So, in '91, we did this dumb little short called "I Was a Teenage Ape," uh, where this kid like drinks radioactive ape piss and then turns into a half ape, and like Teen Wolf, he suddenly is able to do sports really well and shit like that. So that's where like the first like teen ape name sort of happened. And
Okay.
then when we were putting together Anal Paprika 2 in '99, at the end of '99, Casey and I were just trying to fit in a Teen Wolf spoof, just a quick little Teen Wolf thing because we love the movie so much, and
Okay.
we were like, well, let's try to put this in there. And I said, well, how about not Teen Wolf but Teenape? And
Yes.
he's like, okay. So Teenape was born, and at that time, I didn't write Teenape as a character that would talk really.
Okay.
He would just pop in and out of things, play some sports, and be suave and do some breakdancing and shit like that. And that's really all he was at that point. And then I gotta say, I'm not sure why I kept thinking about popping Teenape into things. The second thing that we put him in was Malva.
He's
like your Toxie of your universe.
Yeah, I was just
so
gonna
guess
say
that's
it's got to be that trauma in his DNA.
I guess so. I guess so. So, and really, actually, what it became more of, it wasn't much of a. I mean, because at that point, he really was only in Anal Paprika 2, and nobody had
Mhm.
seen Anal Paprika 2. But when we would go to conventions, I would have Teenape there, just as a mascot for the table and whatnot. And it
Yeah.
wasn't Casey. Casey didn't start playing Teenape until 2001 in Scrotal Vengeance, And by that time, there was already like 5 other people who had played Teenape before that.
Yeah, because actually, like in Malva 1, he doesn't say anything. He's just there at the end.
That's why I
Well,
say he
gone.
kind of has like kind of an evolution.
He definitely did. So I really started writing Teenape as the Teenape you know in Anal Paprika 3.
Okay.
And he was played by our friend Zafir, and in the same movie, he was played by our friend Tommy. And that's really when I started writing the way that Teenape talks.
Okay.
And then after that, we just had Casey play him in Scrotal Vengeance, and he just was perfect. He just was perfect. And
if you had a favorite
Yes.
Teenape moment, what would it be?
Teenape moments.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Can I say mine first? That
Go
fucking
ahead.
crazy threesome with him and Choach and fucking Teenape goes to camp with them jumping off the tables and swinging their dicks around. Like, that's like one of my favorite moments in any Chris Seaver movie. I just fucking die laughing, and then everything with Josh and Teenape goes to camp. It was just amazing as well. But
Teenape for us was really done in 2007, and so I wrote Teenape Goes to Camp and Wet Heat back to back, and that was going to be his swan song. Those 2 movies, and
Okay.
so my favorite Teenape is out of those 2 movies. It's really I think it's a really good collection of what these 2 characters are. I mean, what this character is. These 2 movies really represent who Teenape is.
it's hard to choose. I think if I had to choose, I would go Teenape Goes to Camp, just because it's fucking funny watching Casey murder everyone. But Wet Heat's pretty fucking epic too, so it's hard to choose.
Out of the different worlds that you built with Bonejack High and Bonejack Heights and the Teenape world and the world of Deathbone, how has the reception been for each of these worlds? Which one tends to be the audience's favorite from your perspective?
I mean, because it's all in the same world. I mean, they all sort of intertwine with each other. It's just, I mean, it's all of it. Here's the thing. Like, I have noticed, and I would say around 2010, I started to notice that when I was changing and doing different things with my movies, I was getting a lot of flack from the people who really enjoyed the more offensive, crazy shit.
The gross stuff.
Yeah. And people weren't really.
I like to think your average output is more delightfully disgusting. It's not just straight up gross. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I imagine knowing your audience took a long time to understand.
For sure. I mean, there's some fans who just left. You know what I mean? Who just straight up like, this isn't for me anymore. But then there were the new fans who were seeing the newer stuff and they were appreciating that. Okay. And they don't necessarily like the Teenape years or any of that stuff, So I don't know. I personally enjoy the later half than I do the earlier stuff.
Okay.
But there, 2010, there was a definite shift, I would say.
Oh, well, yeah. And then you guys go into Warlock and it becomes a whole new entity. And to be honest, dude, a lot of your being able to say, you know what, I'm going to put this thing to bed that I've been doing for like 20 years and just start something new has been a big inspiration to me and like, just general life. So thank you for that. You're a big part of why I went so hard with the fucking full moon stuff over the last year, man. I found you like right at the sort of beginning peak of the like pandemic, you know, and you were one of those people that I knew your movies from like reputation. I'd heard about like Blood Fart Lake or, you know, Moist Fury or Wet Heat or like these titles that obviously would stick out to somebody
Well,
like
Moist
me.
Fury
But I never knew
and
where to
Geek
find them
Wars.
most of the time, you know.
Moist Fury and Geek Wars were like the first two I'd come across out of your films, and then I seeked you out years ago, and got a bunch of films from your catalog on DVD. So thank you for that. And I got that's when I got into Terror at Blood Fart Lake. I honestly, I like the first one more than I do the second one, but
me
but
too.
I appreciate the second one because you went and did it. You know, it's not like I could tell it was a film that you didn't enjoy doing.
It was a mistake. It definitely was a mistake.
Your performance in it is pretty fucking great, though, dude. Oh, is it Jacques Dequeef? Is that the dude?
Jock. Oh yeah, he is in 2. I forgot about that.
That's one of my favorite parts, and Jason is great. I mean, there's like a lot of great stuff in Blood Fart Lake too, but that first one is inspired, like Chef's Kiss type stuff. You know, Caspian especially is just. I use that. I poop from my dick thing all the time.
Speaking of Moist Fury and Geek Wars, why don't you tell us about those projects, at least from your perspective?
Moist Fury was a mistake. Geek War was a passion project at the time. So of course I love Geek War way more than I love Moist Fury. Moist Fury again was just hey, let's bring Deathbone into the Savage Streets world. Let's bring him into this, you know, girl gang world, and create the dumbest shit we can. And with this character and how terrible he is as a human being, and
it's
again,
fun.
that's a project that didn't really turn out the way that I wanted to, and there was a few issues that kind of caused some chaos during that, but unfortunately, it came out the way it did, and it was released in a very weird way.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, it's one of my. Go ahead.
It was released in a weird cut too, like something during their. I don't know how like professional their SRS is with their slapping things onto DVD, but sometimes they don't.
No.
I mean, the original. I mean, the only way. I am the only person that owns, other than if you got it at a convention, but I am the only one who has a master of Terror at Blood Fart Lake that's in widescreen, in 16:9 widescreen, the way it was shot. But for some fucking stupid reason, SRS released it like 4:3. Like I don't know why.
Cropped and chopped and with no love given, you know what I mean?
It's so fucking bizarre. All the
wild
extras
thing is, it's like stupid.
All the extras
print.
aren't on it. I sent him all of the extras that we did, and he didn't put it on the disc. It's so weird. But I have all that.
I mean, not to throw shade, but I feel like I saw you on Facebook recently mention that like certain movies you tried to buy back from SRS and they're just not having it, and it bums me the fuck out because they're ones that I really need, you know. SRS doesn't exactly keep them stocked, you know.
So I imagine Taint Light was your answer to Twilight.
Taint Light was a you know,
conversation with you and JR at a convention, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You guys just spitballing fucking ideas to make a little Skrilla, and it worked out. I love
That's
it.
all. It worked out for him for sure. It didn't work
Well,
out
for us
me.
too. It's funny, dude.
I don't like Teenape. Most people that were in the movie don't like it either. But that was a piece of delicious, fluffy devil food's cake after shooting that trauma movie we did.
Yeah, good way to wash out to cleanse the palate, so to speak.
Yeah. So I appreciate people who think that's funny, who think Taint funny, and we got a lot of fans because of that, because of the Netflix thing and all of that stuff, but it's not one of my favorites.
Understood.
See, you'll be happy to know, Chris, that like I found you because of Full Moon. That's the whole reason that I found you and Bobby talked about fucking Full Moon in that video that you did. And it took me probably what's that?
He just looked like he was about to fall asleep.
Oh, we're sorry, Shawnee. We'll get you back in here soon. But yeah, I found you because of Full Moon. And it took me a couple of months to realize, like, oh shit, this dude made Blood Fart Lake and these movies that I'd heard about, because I just kept watching your videos on YouTube. I was like, this dude seems pretty sweet. He's got good taste in full movies. You're the whole reason I grabbed Dr. Alien as quick as I did right there. So, quality release, one of the best in their catalog. And it took me a bit to tune into the Seaververse, I guess. But once I did, and once I found all the stuff that I could through YouTube at the time, The Weirdsies was my first movie years that I actually sat down and watched. I don't remember if you said that it was like available in a YouTube video or if it just popped up when I typed in.
It was. I had it because I got real sick. We shot that movie in 2015, and I got tired of people not being able to see it. So I was just like, I'm just gonna put it up and let people see it. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, JR came to the rescue with that, and did a bang up job putting the official version out.
He really did. You got it out on what's it, VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Which also leads into a secondary question I had here. But yeah, I found you through that, was able to get into all the shit. The Bone Jack Dirty Dozen is definitely like a set that if you were able to get it, it's, monumental in collecting this stuff, because it's not the easiest shit to get a hold of. You've got a lot of stuff out now through, your Warlock, shit, and you can get the good $70 bundle till tomorrow, right? Unless you're sold out of that.
That's right. Yeah. The last day.
So a lot of Chris Seaver movies you can check off the list if you're, on top of it right now. And it's a thrilling time, because most of the stuff I had to watch on like subpar DVD rips or, and I'm glad that it was there. Like that's the first time I saw Blood Fart Lake was on YouTube, But a lot of it is available on Amazon and Tubi if you look around and stuff. There's Chris Seaver stuff out there. So don't think just because you guys don't have this box set or whatever Chris is doing for his Black Friday Christmas sale that you're left out in the cold, because you can watch a lot of his movies through your normal streaming services. I just wanted to put that out there for the people watching it. But I mean, thanks a million, man, for all the stuff you're releasing lately as well, because, prior to you doing that, it was all just nowhere,
Going over to you, Shawnee, I was going to ask you about your Sex Squatch 2 roles, where you played Shawnee Ramone again and Marty McFly, or shall I say Chip Rockcastle.
Sadly, two have not seen me because of
Joey Jeremiah
in the first one.
In the first one, and then
the second one.
Were you?
Yeah, and then in part 2, did we do part of that by the pool? Is that where I show up? And I've got the hoverboard, at the pool, and I actually do show up kind of like Marty McFly, and Casey's talking like Biff, and Olivia's dancing, and Bill's the sex squatch. I remember that scene. I
Remember
wow.
your Shawnee Ramone.
Yeah, the first sex squatch is a very memorable shoot.
Definitely. Once again, the first sex squatch is like 25 times better than the second sex squatch.
Yeah, the first one I remember vividly. We were on location. It was great. It was it was a good location. Everybody was spot on. It was funny. There were inside jokes, but they were funny and accessible. Um, the whole thing came together. We were working on scenes off camera. Like everybody was really invested into making something special, and I think that really translates into how successful it was. One of my favorite stories about that is when we were down in Kentucky at the Fright Night Film Fest and the Fandom Fest in Louisville. Sex Watch was premiering, and Chris and I and Heather and a few others were down there. And, Chris was a little worried, like, naturally, is anybody going to show up? Because they had it at a time slot. It was later at night. It was somewhere between, it was like a prime slot. It was somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock on one of the main nights of the entire weekend at this giant horror convention film festival in Louisville. And we go down there, and there's people in the hallway, like, waiting to get into the film room. And it turns out that they were all there for Sex Squatch. We walked into the room, and it no joke, was standing room only. The place was packed, and it was a big place. There were tons of people there. It was like a real deal film opening. They had reserved seating for us in the front row. They brought us all on stage in the beginning to talk about it, and then we watched the movie with a packed standing room only house. It was overflowing to the hallway with screaming and cheering and laughing and crying. It was just so surreal. I wish that we had that on film. I wish that the screening was on film, because it's almost like
amazing.
it never happened. But I have to tell them about this memory every once in a while.
No, I remember it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I remember it.
Because it's so
yeah.
surreal. And I can just tell
What's
you
it like that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, none of that feeling for me, I think, made its way into the production of the second movie.
No.
It was like almost like a contractual obligation where, like, all right, we're here. We got to make Sex Watch 2. We're basically going to tell the same story. We got to get as many of these people back to just do it again. We don't have the location. We don't necessarily have all the people or the heart or the motivation to do it in the same way. And I think you can tell. I think that it wasn't as much fun. And it's not that there wasn't good stuff in it, but I think it's more disjointed. And it's almost like the first one is everything, and the second one, I truly don't remember the specifics, because I remember we just wanted to be done.
Yeah, I think it's a thing, like, even as a viewer, you can recognize in a lot of Chris's movies is whether or not he was having fun in making it. Because if he wasn't, it just feels like you guys are all there playing the characters, and then when it's really on, like, that's...
We had a ton of fun on the first one. And actually, just as a cast crew memory, we hadn't eaten all day. We were starved. We knew that we were going to get a delivery of 100 wings with a gold sauce. You could hear a pin drop in that place, because we were just eating and not talking and going through these wings, and we were just ravenously chowing down after a hard day's work. And
then after they were delivered, if I remember correctly, all you could hear was
Yes.
I remember that conversation about those wings.
Yeah.
So I imagine that Sex Squatch, Chris, was another Sub Rosa Cinema deal. Was that a time constraint thing going on for you for both films, or just the one?
No, I mean, I shoot my movies in 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
So all of them are a time constraint, but two was just it was just a poor choice. It was a big mistake. And half of it is a Teenape movie, and that was like it was something that we kind of gave in. The fans were kind of like, Teenape, like do another Teenape, like, can we get Teenape and blah 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 blah. So we were like, okay, if we do it, maybe we can make it into a Sex Squatch movie, and it'd be Teenape versus Sex Squatch. And I don't know, man. When I was writing it, it wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. We definitely, when we were doing it, nobody was feeling it.
Okay.
And at that point, you're already on that track, and you just,
Gotta get it done.
when I'm doing a movie that I don't really want to do,
Yeah.
it's tough for me. It's tough for the crew.
And it's tough to get it done.
Well, I mean, we are, mostly when we all get together, all we want to do is hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
So,
A good way too to tell when Chris wasn't having fun is to listen to the commentary, because a lot of them were included back then, and Chris will just be like, "Fuck this shit." Like, you can hear it in his voice the moment they start doing the commentary, where he's
on Sex
would
Squatch
rather
2,
be watching Fright Night.
Yeah, we all give a pretty bad commentary for that movie.
Oh, I don't
So
think any of them
ultimately,
are bad, but I think some of them are telling of the experience.
when did Warlock home video get resurrected?
2011. I had started thinking of Warlock in 2010.
Okay.
It's when I first wrote down the name and started like doing like logos and what I wanted to do for it. It was really because I was getting burnt out, tired of doing these same old movies, going around in circles, not really getting anywhere. We had been so many times throughout the years, we had gotten close to getting certain projects off the ground that would propel us further than where we were,
Mhm.
and then something terrible would happen. And I was just getting tired of that. It was heartbreaking a lot of the times. I was making 5 to 6 movies a year and not getting money.
Okay.
It was just like, ugh. But I'm such a creative person, and I can't really. I have to do something creative.
Okay.
So I felt I have to keep making movies. I have to keep writing. But what if we just went back and did what I did in the late '80s and early '90s, which was just shoot on VHS and not care, not give a shit, and sort
And
of.
they started with a couple of short films, correct? Dingleberries.
We did Diebecue,
Yeah.
and then
that'd be
Death
cool,
o'
I
Lantern,
feel like.
and then Happy Holidays,
Okay.
and Dingleberries.
And how were those projects for you?
So fucking fun. Because it was, it was like it was back in the day, and the conceit was, we had found these old movies that this company, Warlock Home Video, was putting out, and they went bankrupt. And so this guy, E.W. Swackhammer, decided to re-release all these movies on special edition DVD. And so the conceit was we were going to shoot like it was in the 80s, all on VHS, bad clothes, bad acting, bad dialogue, bad editing, just like the shot on video stuff that I was inspired by. There was a lot of passion
Awesome
and heart.
aliases. Toby Lerone.
Yeah. Lots of heart in those movies that people were making, but they just were so terrible. And so Warlock was all about that. And so that's what we did. So we did, like, if there was a screw up, we just left the screw ups in. it was just so much fun. For us, I think the hardest part was certainly at first when we were doing the VHS stuff for Warlock. The hardest part was to try to keep it straight, try to
Okay.
keep all the characterizations straight, but the things that were happening were ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Where normally you'd have a half a paragraph joke about it, you gotta just say it like it's an actual situation, because that's the charm of those old shot on video jammies.
The acting was bad, the dialogue was bad, but man, they were going for it. And that was, I think, the hardest thing for us at first, was just to try to be normal and say normal
Adjust the
things.
style.
Yeah, but
Like,
we got it.
it's
Yeah, it just started to work, and it was. I mean, you're in a bunch of those. I mean,
they were fun.
they were just fun, just super fun to do.
It seems
right.
like it was a good way for you to just say fuck it, like shed all the not responsibility, but like burden of feeling like you had to do movies for any other distributors or other people or whatever. And you just got to strip it back down to the basics of what you started doing it to.
And rebrand, you can branch out to other avenues too. So
it was great. It was great. And then when we put it out, when the first releases were Diabecue and Death O'Lantern, a week after we had shot Death O'Lantern, we went to Cinema Wasteland, and we were selling. And everything that I took, we sold out like immediately. And they just...
Didn't you say that was like the quickest turnaround of any movie you'd ever done was Death Lantern, where you shot it and then put it out like the next week?
Yep. The next weekend it was edited, packaged, ready to go. And it did so well. And that
which is why eventually you returned to it and remade it.
Which we don't like. Again, which I should not have done. Because I do not like that movie. But that was a mistake. That was a mistake. We're gonna do a proper Death O'Lantern sequel next year on VHS.
Well, then that takes care of my initial question for this era of the Seavage. But did I ask you the NECA one already? I don't think so. So, let's say for the sake of discussion, NECA came to you and was like, we're going to put out a whole line of LB Warlock figurines, okay? You get to choose the first 3 characters that are released as part of the line. What 3 characters do you choose? Just to throw my votes out there, I would say Teenape, Bonejack, and Choach. But that's, obviously personal bias going into that.
I definitely Teenape, Bonejack, and Leo.
Fuck yeah.
Would be the 3 first.
Sorry, Shawnee, you're wave 2.
No.
You come with cuss things we can pull out of your jacket down there.
That's funny. Yeah, I get an action
especially a chicken. That would be the best accessory possible for you.
Like a slice of pizza, a second wig.
A little passion flaky and a chicken.
That would be cool.
Deathbone would be good.
Deathbone would be great. Yeah.
I'll ask you, Sean, about your role in Stoinky Beach.
Sean's not in Stoinky Beach.
Everybody thinks I'm in that one, and I'm actually not.
No.
It's probably because of IMDb being full of shit sometimes.
Yeah, they are fake. I have no idea who messes with that shit.
Even the people that were in it think I was in it. I love that one.
What was your favorite moment inside of Chris Seaver film?
My favorite moment inside of Chris Seaver film? Like
film.
Inside
of me.
Inside. Oh man. I think that my favorite moments are the ones that have lasted, that they're brief little moments in time that may be inconsequential, but they've provided us with like over a decade of being able to revisit them and laugh about them over and over and over. One small, he knows what I'm going to say. One small but yet very big example is, right, I think it was part Filthy Four when he's on camera. And as an aside, when Chris is on camera, everyone needs to watch him because I tell him this and I mean it in all sincerity. He's as talented as anyone
Oh,
on
for fuck's
camera
sake,
and
bro.
behind
Yeah.
camera that has
What-
ever embarked in film, large or small. And I think that
I don't.
his on-camera work is hilarious.
I don't think I've ever laughed harder than seeing him bottom naked out there jerking his weasel around underneath the bridge while he's making stupid. I mean, it's just the best fucking thing ever, dude. That was
He's
my
good.
profile pic for several months.
in Filthy Four, he just improvised this whole thing and then
Oh.
he went like this and said, "It's like cream from a weasel."
Yeah,
And
I
so
take
that
clips
moment-
of Bonejack all the time too. Bonejack is like an endless source of good
Yeah.
little snippets to share into chats with your friends.
It's those
You
little
know,
moments, like the little quotes, the little things here and there. Those are the lasting moments that I think are the most fun. Aside from picking, a favorite movie or a favorite scene, because I can tell you that Death of Lantern was a blast, beginning to end, and it's a blast to watch. The Phantom of the Grindhouse was a blast. There were some
Classic.
moments that were hairy here and there, but ultimately, when you watch that one, it was worth putting up with the frustration towards the end. There's a diner scene where we had it at that point. We're done, but some things had fallen
Didn't you
apart.
guys
but
all have the flu or something like that during?
He was
System of the
lucky because
Grindhouse?
he was like, I'm out of here, so he slept in his car.
yeah, because
Oh yeah, he bounced.
So, but there's definitely the films that stand out. The good in Phantom
Yeah.
far outweighs the bad from behind the scenes. Even though we all did get frustrated during that one, that's one of those ones where not unlike like Sex Watch 2, where we were frustrated and just done with it, and it looked like it.
Yeah.
Phantom, you can't tell, and that's
Yeah, no,
also
that's a good thing.
Ability to pull it together. So
It's kind of like
there's
how in
favorite
Film
movies.
Crew you can't tell. Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Like, you
favorite
guys were, like,
moments are
burnt
just
out
the
and-
little things. They're just the little things that like we still laugh about them, like a live chicken. It's like it's so funny. It's a Thomas's English muffin. It's just that stuff
It's
is
just so
just
weird.
funny and stupid. And I mean,
It is.
yeah, the candle. Actually, at the beginning of Death of Lantern, when they shove the candle through the guy's head, and then at the very last second, it might have been Casey or somebody said, "Oh, we should light it. It should be lit through as it goes through the head. It should be lit." I mean, those moments where you're just creatively thinking of things, like I remember that stuff, and so there's
Gurf.
lots of moments. Oh yeah, Gurf. the organic way that stuff happens offset and then magically makes its way into either the movie you're currently doing or the next one. That's fun too. The
yeah.
regroup is fun.
Was it Gurf Morlack or some
That's it,
shit
Gurf
like
Morlack.
that? Was the flyer?
Gurf
I mean,
Morlack.
it's
Yep.
it's the type of stuff, dude. Like, I don't know what it does for you guys, but as a fan, watching Chris's movies doesn't necessarily feel like the same way as watching just the Trauma Library or anything else. It feels like you're in on one endless inside joke that keeps evolving into different things.
Agreed.
And you sort of start absorbing it into your day-to-day life the more that you expose yourself to it. You know what I mean?
When we all
Like, there's
get
times where I'm
together-
just delivering mail and I think about this bullshit and it makes me laugh. And that has been a blessing over the last 2 years, especially during this.
And honestly, you should just be proud of the titles that you've come out with. I mean,
Holy shit.
even if they're bad, even if they're really, really bad, if you mention to it like in conversation to someone, they're going like, "What?"
Yeah,
It's
there's
called
no
that.
way you say 12 inches of dangling fury to someone and they don't want to see it. That's, and I think you play Ghetto Jesus in there or something, don't you, Chris? Like, that sounds
Yeah.
just on
Yeah.
paper amazing to me. So I'm already there for it.
So, Chris, is there a favorite film moment in your Warlock film series that you would throw out there that you've enjoyed?
A moment. Um, I don't know, man. I love when we do dance numbers. That's
Okay.
always fun. Um,
It does.
and there's a great one in Sex Squash. There's a great one in Phantom of the Grindhouse. Oh, actually, most people didn't get to see that one because it was cut, but I have it. Um, in the three Heather and Pugly movies, it opens with dance.
I was
They
going
all
to
three
ask you
open
about
with
those.
dance numbers. I love when we get to do that. That's really fun. Um, I don't know. Sometimes I think the moment is like what he says. It's just ultimately you come out of the experience, whether it's good or bad, uh,
Mhm.
with a sense of, man, we just went through some shit. You know, like the best
Mhm.
thing I can say, and I've said this before, the best thing to come out of doing these films for 30 years are the people that I consider my family now. You know,
Mhm.
uh, I
For
can't
sure.
I can't
It,
imagine doing these movies without these people and without them there to give me that support. And
super
that's
envious of them. I mean, you guys
that's
are
the
the
best.
fucking ghoulies of, or not the ghoulies, the Goonies of low budget like films. You guys are, sometimes you find yourself down a fucking wishing well, but Goonies never say die, and you guys never have. And there's 30 years worth of fucking films to hold up and say that with. It's
Yeah.
you can tell when you guys aren't having the best time, but at the end of the day, you've always brought something that we can laugh at as fans. You know what I mean?
You
So
Yeah.
mentioned that.
I
You
hope it.
mentioned them, the Heather and Pugly films. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those before we go into asking you about the Weirdsies, which was one of your latest of films. But tell us a little bit about that trilogy.
The Heather and Pugly movies started with 12 Inches of Dangling Fury in 2002. It was, my girlfriend at the time uh, and Meredith Host, who had just joined the group. I just wanted to do these weird. It originally came out of the series of shorts we were doing called Apartment 22.
Okay,
And this was like the fourth story in that Apartment 22 thing that we were doing. And
like a
uh,
story arc.
it was just like a little so there's this guy named Cletus, and in Apartment 22, Cletus moves into this apartment building with Jesus, and all these weird things happen in this apartment building. And
Okay.
Cletus would look at the camera, and he would start to tell you the tale, and then it would go into each of the stories.
Okay.
And 12 Inches of Dangling Fury was one of those stories that I ended up really liking so much that I wanted it to be its own thing because
Okay.
I just laughed so hard at one, just writing it, and then two, watching it come to life. And the chemistry, and at that point, Meredith, she had never done anything. She,
Mhm.
she's not that great in 12 Inches of Dangling Fury, but boy, does she fucking get great just like a year later with us. Because she really buckled down and really started to take it as a thing, this whole
Mhm.
LGBT thing and this group of people.
Because a lot of what your group does is like a lot of improv too.
And
Correct? No.
no,
No. It's all
no,
scripted.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Um, I'm very now. Here's what'll happen. Like it's all there on the page, but if we will play, while we're
Okay.
doing it.
Ad lib.
And if it works, I'll be like,
Uh,
no, no. Or while we're shooting, I'll throw out another line
Okay.
instead of what's in there, or in addition, and that would make people flub or laugh, or Um, sometimes somebody will bring something up, and if I think it's funny enough, then we'll keep it. It just depends, but for the most part, I like to stay. on script.
Okay.
So no, it's
Teenape is a good barometer of it. I think like Teenape with Casey, you could tell the stuff. Like if you watch enough of it, you can tell the stuff that's closer to what Chris wrote, and then the stuff that Casey could manage to get out there.
What happens
Yeah,
is
and that's from your guys' conversations.
Casey doesn't remember, this fucking giant monologue that I wrote for him. So as he's saying it,
some of them are
he
big.
forgets things, and Casey will just come up with these other things, and I'm always behind the camera like, what the fuck?
What?
Like, and sometimes in the
it
behind the
works.
scenes, you can hear me say, just say what's in the script, like whatever he just said didn't make any sense whatsoever. So that type of thing can happen. But yeah, for the most part, it is all scripted.
Okay. Very cool. I mean, it's totally different, especially when you're dealing with comedy in relation to horror. That a lot of your comedy dialogue is in fact scripted, where it's not always off the wall. Okay, whatever the fuck you could think of next. It's all written for all of your actors, and that's something that you got to give credit to each of your actors to try to remember to say some of these.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it's something that luckily, because they've been with me for so long, they're so used to it now. And actually, sometimes some of the people don't even read the script until we're about to shoot, and so they're like way thrown off guard, that they have to say these things. There's not
You figure
many.
after one or two, they'd be used to it though, and be prepared.
Yeah, they
somewhat
definitely
for
are
what
used to
you're-
it, but sometimes it'll just make them crack up because they're not ready for it. They're not ready for this new thing that I write. And truth be told, a lot of them, they don't memorize the stuff. They just can't. And he's one of the ones that can. And it's amazing. Like him and Andrew Baltus and Meredith, they actually like can soak it all in. I mean, Sean will deliberately go off with the script and just like he'll be walking down the street and he'll just be saying it to himself, and and then he'll come back and he'll just do it.
Let's do it.
Well, I think Meredith like records them and listens to them back on her phone. If
Meredith will go over it and record herself saying it and then listen back to it. Yeah. And then there's a good chunk that are just like, what the fuck am I saying?
I got to tell you, bud, with a lot of that stuff, I don't think it would save me.
If the audience only knew, like, what doesn't ever actually get said that was written, they think it's funny now. There were some amazingly funny things that were just almost like too funny that you couldn't get through. And then eventually it was like even a cut shot wouldn't save it. Like it was just like, fine, just say it the way you're saying it. And it was like, sometimes it's a compromise. So some of the stuff that never actually got said properly ever was the funniest stuff in the world. But I always try to memorize it because it's what the way it's written is funny a lot of the times.
See, I wouldn't have thought that with you either, because the Shawnee Ramone stuff feels so natural that I just assumed a lot of it was like sort of inserted. But
here's the thing.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Because they're my friends and because I've been around these people so much, you just instinctively you take characteristics and you take their charisma and their vibe just as a human being, and you're able to write some of that into the characters. So Sean in general is just such a gregarious, he's just like that, man, and so that was so easy to build off of his just who Sean is,
Right. And you guys are like
That's
so
a gift.
tuned in to each other or whatever
It's
that
such
it's
a
like
gift
you can just
to be able to do that. Like I'm not a writer who just writes things and then tries to find people to play them.
No.
I have the person already, and then I write for that person, and that's a gift for me. It would be tough for me to do it the other way. Um, yeah,
So
and it doesn't always work that way for people, but for us, I've been lucky.
So let's talk about the Weirdsies and how you got involved with that production.
The Weirdsies, that was another passion project of mine. Um, it was a bunch of us sitting around uh, during one of our. I do this thing called Gash Bash every year, where everybody who's in the movies, again, my extended family, they'll come for the summer for like 5-6 days, and we'll do nothing but watch movies, swim, grill, and they all just stay at my house. And we don't make a movie, nothing. It's just getting together and having a great time. And I do it every year. You've been to some amazing Gash Bashes.
they sound fucking amazing, dude.
But sometimes we, we're always like making each other laugh and shit like that. And sometimes we'll say some things that kind of snowball. And one of those things we were just talking about, Stand By Me, which we love, and we were just riffing on that plot and what it was all about. And I was like, what if it's a bunch of virgins that fuck the dead body? They're virgins. They want to find that dead body just so that they can fuck that dead body, instead of just finding it and being like heroes to the town or whatever. And then we all just start riffing, and somebody said, and originally it was going to be called Sit On Me. Because it was going to be the girl sitting on a dead cock. So it was going to be and then
Which, to be fair, does happen.
So that was something that I immediately wrote down. And then just for like a year, I just nurtured it, and I would go back to it and come up with fun little things just to write down, gags, whatnot. And I was writing it for a while, and
Okay.
and then in 2015 we got to do it, and it's my favorite film that we've done. It was one of the best times making a movie,
Okay.
because everybody knew it was a really passionate thing that I was gung ho about. Everyone sort of gave 110%, and we don't have a lot of those in the 60 plus movies and shorts that I've done. There's maybe a handful of films that we really sort of cherish and adore, and
Okay.
The Weirdsies is mine.
Okay.
It seems to be that one that kind of like I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off, man. It seems to be that one where like the way you wanted to shoot stuff and your writing gelled the best, because over the couple of years of watching you, I've noticed you always say like, I love the movie, but I wish we'd shot it better, and the Weirdsies is kind of like the perfect crossover of your writing being where you wanted it to be and the shooting of the movie being how you wanted it.
Yeah,
And I've heard a lot of things said about your best film always seems to be the one that you haven't made yet. And it sounds like you had the time to do it. The people around you loved the project because you loved it, and everything just kind of clicked.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a way better time if I'm having a better time, if I'm like truly like gung ho about the film, then everyone is just gonna try harder, to sort of bring that vision to the screen, like with Sex Squatch, Geek War, things like that, where people were just ooh, Chris likes this one. You know, like, let's do this. Terror at Bloodfart Lake was another one of those.
Mhm.
But I think up to
So
that
good.
point, as a collective, as a group, the Weirdsies was the best thing that we had done. You know,
Okay.
we
And
Yeah, for
where
my
did you
money,
shoot?
it's like the
Where did
Weirdsies,
you end up
Destruction
shooting it?
Kings, Teenape Goes to Camp. Those are like the top 3 for me at this point. You know, I have
we
weird love for the Quest for the Egg Salad, but we don't have to talk about that, Chris. It's fine.
we shot the Weirdsies in Wellsville and here, Rochester
Okay.
and Wellsville, back to back. Yeah. Again, that was another like 3.5 day shoot.
Well, it's kind of neat that you were able to shoot it back in your hometown that you grew up. The last film that you had filmed, you know.
Yeah, we
You know?
we did a lot back there. I mean, yeah, so many movies are still shot in Wellsville, but
Okay.
it was awesome to get that in there. It just lent itself to the story that I was telling, and great
And
production.
what is the Weirdsies generally about? Without
I mean,
spoiling the movie.
well, I just spoiled it. I mean, it is
It's
literally
Stand By Me
about,
with necrophilia, bro.
Okay.
yeah, that's what it is.
Sounds good.
Absurdist comedy about these 4 virgins who desperately want to get laid. One of them finds out that there's a dead body and that rigor mortis only sets in to the penis after a certain amount of time.
Nice.
So this is their best bet: go find this dead body and stop being
have a go.
non-virgins.
And how has the film's reception been so far?
It has been, in the 30 years of doing these movies, it has been the best reviewed movie we've ever had. It's played at festivals. It's won 2 awards, and like nobody has seen it. You know what I mean? You know. So yes, it's been wonderful to get
Okay.
feedback from the people who have actually seen it. You know.
Well, I thank you both for coming on.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome pleasure to talk to both of you. And I wonder if you could tell us, or at least the audience, where you can pick up some of your films currently.
You just go to me. Listen, some of them are through makeflix.com. They got a kick-ass box set right now of 13 of my films with extra features, and they are the only place that you can get the new Blu-ray of the Weirdsies. So there's those guys. Again, SRS used to, but they don't sell my stuff anymore, but they own the rights.
They got Deathbone in stock, but that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been doing this whole like DVD release of like some of their older films,
You know,
putting them out. And
that was another
it's
thing.
kind of funny.
We shot Deathbone in 2008, and he didn't end up putting that out until I think 2015.
Well, and also
14.
there's been a resurgence of some of your films on SOV Horror recently. So,
Oh yeah. So I have a Tony came to me, and the guy who runs SOV Horror, and I did a licensing deal. So he has the license for 5 of the shot on VHS Warlock Home movies that we did. So he's got.
Yeah,
the
I think it's
license
Stoinky
for 500.
Beach, A Night with My Aunt Bedelia,
He
or
can
whatever
do
that one is.
the DVDs,
several
but
of
he
them.
can't do anymore. He can't do the Blu-rays or VHS or any of that.
Oh, that's right.
because
Because you're doing the Dingleberries and Happy Holidays, but they're also doing the DVD versions of that.
They
if
do the
that's what you prefer.
DVDs because I no longer do DVD. So that's where you can get the DVDs of those, but the Blu-rays from me. So yeah, you just get a hold of me. I'm not a business. I don't have a website. I mostly do this during like holidays and stuff like that.
So probably
And
through Facebook, through your Warlock Home Entertainment page.
you can, yeah, Warlock Home Video Network on Facebook, or
Yep.
you can go to warlockhomevideo@gmail.com.
Okay.
I have an Instagram, which is just It Crept from the 80s, and people contact me there. And then I have the YouTube channel, which is It Crept from the 80s, which is just a variety of nostalgic shit, movies, comics, toys, TV, you name it, everything that I love.
Mhm.
Like I said, born in 77, grew up in the 80s. I'm still sort of obsessed and stuck in that decade, and I never want to let it go. And that channel is really much about that. But you get so much more in that channel: the horror stuff,
Oh, lots
the
of stuff.
filmmaking stuff, ska, like all that stuff. Lots of behind the scenes
A little
shit.
bit of
that nobody's
He-Man if
seen.
that's your thing. You want
Oh
some
yeah,
attorney action.
that Masters of
Chris
the
is
Universe on
definitely a
there.
dude up for that.
So if there
Yeah,
was
And
if there was
personal
anything,
recommendation
oh,
is their recent, VHS horror memories that they did with old Shawnee Ramone back there. And he didn't actually pull the VHS out of his pockets, but he was definitely in there talking about VHS PS, all that great work that he's doing over there, preserving the videotapes and all that. So definitely a link to hit up as well.
VHSPS.com.
Yeah, I do have a
.com, yeah.
VHS with a VHS tape PS for preservationsociety.com. Facebook, Instagram, email me, vhsps@vhsps.com.
Fucking A,
We are
dude.
both, I think, in the midst of holiday sales.
Ooh, good to know.
We're not large corporations. Every little thing really does help fund the cause to keep this stuff going that we both do. And so I appreciate the plug. So
And he's at every convention under the sun.
tons.
So,
I hope to see you as well at a show. Please.
I'm hoping to get out there, man.
Email me. Stay in touch.
Definitely. And
Since
if
I'm
there
done
was
recuperating
anything,
from this full moon sale, expect an order from me, Shawnee.
if there was anything that you could tell an aspiring filmmaker out there to do to get involved in the independent industry, what would it be?
Dusting off that old classic.
you know what? Yeah, I hate that question. Only because I'm such a different filmmaker from the way people want to make films, or people think that they want to make films, and my experience is definitely not the way I think other people should do it. The way that I started doing it was very different, and then it became sort of just a necessity. The way that I was doing it, no one should be making movies in 2 to 3 days. On the budgets that we make them on, I don't know. I guess it's such a normal thing to say to other filmmakers, but you don't need money if you have a great. Certainly now today, where you can shoot movies on your phone, it's a lot easier if you have a story to tell. If you have a group of people who are passionate about the same thing or want to help you out. Don't take that for granted, and scoop it up immediately, and just, I guess, nurture yourself, and be okay with evolving as a filmmaker, I guess. I don't know, man. See, I just I can't. It's
See,
such
as a
weird
fan,
thing.
I guess what I've learned from Chris is this: you can be just a weird kid making movies. You don't have to go out there and compromise to everybody that dangles a carrot in front of your face. You don't have to go out there and make a fucking clown movie or a shark movie if you don't want to. You can cast your friends every single time that you feel like doing it. And you can still build a fan base doing your movies the way that you want to do them. So
it's
don't ever
definitely
sit there and think that the only
it's definitely not easy either. But as long
no.
as you have a group of friends that you can get along with and have fun with while you're doing it,
That's another. Like, listen. you can't do this for money.
You got to do it because you want to.
Yeah, you have to do it because it is burning it
passion.
inside your patch. You know,
Mhm.
you got that genital magic that is bubbling inside you that doesn't want to let go and just says, "I want to do this." No matter if it's good, if it's. I mean, look at Corey Feldman. The guy can't sing worth shit, but boy,
No,
he is out there.
can't dance
and
either. Well, he
he is
can, I guess,
pushing-
better than me.
He has that vision and he has that drive, and he's never going to give up. And Crom bless
Nope.
him for doing that. You know, like it's what he wants to do, and he enjoys doing it. There's people on this side of the whole thing where they wish I would just stop making movies, and it's like, but sorry, bro. You know, like, it's something that is just in me.
Goonies
And
never die. We didn't choose
No-
this life, you know.
no matter how many times I say that I'm going to give up and stop, I don't. So just it's got to be in you, man, because don't do it for the money, because that is just
Yeah.
a failure.
Well, I appreciate you both taking this journey with me, and I know it was a long one.
I got to
but,
put him to bed.
but thank you so much for letting us go down this deep dive with you. And
Hey, I mean, thanks for asking me to do it.
I enjoy listening to every aspect of the independent film journey, no matter how boring it may seem to you. It's fascinating to me and Mo and probably a whole bunch of people. Eventually, I'm hoping that people will listen and hear. So thank you so much,
Hope so, man.
both of you. And hopefully you guys have a great evening, and hopefully new fans and over the next years and stuff like that. So do you have anything you said you were do you have any films planned in the future?
Yes, there are 2 things planned for next year, besides Death on Lantern 3 on VHS. There's a project called Wellsville Nights, which is a television show that we have been marinating since last year,
Okay.
which we're going to shoot the pilot for. There's also a feature called Radikill that I have been working on
Yes.
for what seems for 5 years.
Like forever.
And hopefully we're going to be able to do that. But that one needs a pretty significant budget, more than we've ever had. But
Okay.
Already got a dope
I hope-
logo, though. We know that
I hope
much.
to be able to do those. There's also a documentary that was made about me and the group. A few years ago, this guy Zach asked if he could do a documentary about Chris and LBP, and and for 2 years he shot this documentary.
Nice.
And at some point,
Wow.
I guess he's going the festival route with it. He's gonna see if it can get some attention that way. And we really have nothing to do with it. We were
Yeah.
interviewed.
Okay.
We have seen it because we all got together for the 30th anniversary this past summer, and he flew out from Seattle and brought a cut of the doc
Okay.
and showed it to us, and it's pretty rad. It's pretty awesome. It's very surreal.
Huh. Is it weird to see something about you?
Yeah, because because it starts from when I was little. It's like it's basically This Is Your Life, Chris Seaver. And it's just as a film fan, regardless that it's about me and the gang in the movies, it's a really cool documentary. It's a cool, I don't know. I could see film lovers and indie lovers really getting something out of it. Which
I
I
could see
guess
that
is the
too.
main reason why he did it. Because I fought him for a while. like, why are you doing this? And, but so that, I mean, I don't know. I would assume that once something starts happening with it, as far as festivals and shit like that, he'll give me info that I can promote and see it where people can go see it, or I don't know, but that's happening in 2022 at some point, I guess.
Nice. I know I'll definitely be willing to get a copy if it ever comes to
sure.
a physical release of any kind. So, hey, that's news. So congrats on that, and hopefully that pans out for you and brings a lot. I mean, you're not used to something so inside looking at your life, staring you in your face, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope. I mean, Zach, his name is Zach Oliveris. He, like I said, he spent 2 years. He's spending 2 years of his life on this thing. He shot for a year. He got a ton of interviews and stuff that I didn't even know was out there. And,
Nice.
he's spent a lot of money on it. I just hope it does well for him. Regardless of us, like,
Definitely. Well, you'll have to.
Yeah,
we'll
I
have
can't
to
wait
keep
for that.
we'll have to keep in touch and definitely keep our ears to the ground on that because it sounds like some exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But in any case, you gentlemen have a good evening.
Hold on, dude. In closing, I would say this: check out Chris's YouTube channel. A lot of that, was integral to me, like diving into the Warlock and the LBP stuff as quick as I have. A lot of it was really just uplifting during bad times. Chris was always a constant reminder that we will eventually get back to conventions. We will eventually do this. And seeing you guys go to Cinema Wasteland and all that stuff was just, it warmed the heart, man, because it was like, yeah, he was right the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you.
So get out there and check out that YouTube channel. Lots of good, discussions on there about everything you can think of. So,
yeah,
I think your most recent
so
one's like Cinematic Spider-Man, right? Like you guys got that up tonight.
Yeah.
So
Part 1.
give it a look.
Thank you so much for your
Of
time,
many,
gentlemen, and
Thank you.
hopefully this won't be your last time
Thank you,
on
Dave.
our show because
Anytime.
you guys sound like have some stuff in store, so I'd definitely be glad to promote. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great evening.